You're listening to the Blacktop Banter podcast, the premier podcast in the asphalt industry, made for contractors with contractors.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Blacktop Banter. And after some minor technical difficulties, we got my buddy Nick here. Just a little, which is common in the podcast world as we come to find out. We got a really cool podcast for you today. So Nick is the product manager. Is that still the title?
Yep.
All right. Well, I didn't know.
No, appreciate you.
Yeah, at Schwarze Industries, which in our industry is known for their sweepers, of course. I had a wonderful experience last year. I think it was after World of Asphalt. Was able to come down to Huntsville, and Nick was like, I'm going to let you just drive the sweeper. And what did we drive? Was it an M6 or what did we drive?
We drove an A7 single engine.
Okay, so we drove an A7, and he's like, hey, you got controls now. Just watch those sweepers over by the curb and stuff. And I was just obsessed when you started describing like how it works, how the functionality works, what we can pick up. And you're like, yeah, I can pick up a brick. And I was like, what? Like this thing's going to vacuum a brick up into the chamber? So I really am excited to get you on the podcast and really talk about sweepers' role in our industry. I know from speaking with sweeper guys at the conferences and whatnot, they're a very proud community. Like they all know each other. They all know where they're at. They're proud of their machines and the businesses that they've built simply off of owning a sweeper. So I think it's essential for us to highlight the importance of them in our industry, because now you see sweepers as part of large paving operations. I have a line striper that we use in Wisconsin, and they have a Schwarze sweeper just so that they can clear the lot to stripe, right? So, it's really unique. So one thing that I'll point out, dude, you have a really wild trait of geeking out about sweepers. So I really can't wait to get into this conversation with you about that. But really quick, give us a synopsis and a little bit of a history, if you would, about Schwarze sweepers. Y'all are located in Huntsville, right?
Yes, sir.
So give us a little bit of history.
Sure. Well, first I want to tell you how much I appreciate you inviting us on this podcast.
For sure.
I've been following you for quite a while, ever since I heard about you at one of, I think it was Pavex, and it's an honor to be on here. So appreciate that.
Dude, absolutely.
From a Schwarze background standpoint, we're celebrating 50 years this year. So we've been in business for 50 years. And it all started off with our founder, Bob Schwarze. He was raised in North Dakota, and he had an opportunity down here in Huntsville, Alabama with Boeing. So he came down and started working with Boeing down here, and he saw someone literally hand picking a parking lot with, picking up the trash, and thought, man, there's got to be a better way. There's a business opportunity here. So he went out and he bought a full-size street sweeper and started sweeping parking lots. And generally, every sweeper can do some type of sweeping, but full-size trucks are really not the best for cleaning parking lots. It's overkill. You got a lot of moving parts. It's bigger. It's not as maneuverable. So he was struggling with it a little bit. And then he partnered with another company that really focused more on the smaller equipment. Well, when that company went out of business, Bob just saw it as such a gold mine that he started his own sweeper. He built his own sweeper, and his passion was for the contractor. He really, really loved getting people started. He started taking out ads in National Enquirer, and they were basically, there's a gold mine in your parking lot.
Oh,
and, so he'd hook people up with equipment, but more importantly, he'd show them how to make a business out of it. It's not just another piece of equipment to add to your fleet. It's a way to make some money. So he even wrote a book that basically outlined how to create a sweeping business, how to bid, how to charge, how to hire, things like that. And again, that goes back to his passion for the contractors and making sure that they're, making a successful business for themselves.
Wow. What a crazy way to market. You put it in the National Enquirer.
Right. Yeah, you hear that today and you're like, huh? Is it, that the best place for it? But really, it reaches a lot of people,
Yeah, and you got creatives reading the National Enquirer. So
exactly.
They might go for it.
Yeah, well, and you think, a lot of times you're sweeping parking lots at night. So you got the people who are, up and reading that type of, material during the day, and, great. It's on your mind now. It's something you can do.
Cool. So, that's pretty cool. So once he kind of had the product there and the business started to get established to where like they were moving units, then what happened?
Well, we've really grown. I mean, that we started breaking into street sweepers too. So we started off with the contractor and parking lot style sweepers. And then we saw that, every city has some type of sweeper, whether they contract it out, whether they're running a fleet themselves, and they need to sweep their streets. So we broke into the municipal side as well. And we went from like a 27,000 square foot building into a 37,000 square foot building. And then we outgrew that and we bought the manufacturing facility across the street. That's where you came in and visited. And now we have both the main facility and that 37,000 square foot facility. And we, we're packed to the gills, as you saw. So we just keep growing and growing with the different needs of the market.
Yeah, I think one thing that surprised me when I was down there was, and I was fortunate enough to come down, Eli and I came down and kind of seen the operation and what all was going on, kind of what you guys had going. It was the first time I had actually seen like a quote unquote vehicle assembly line, right? Of like, this is where we do it all. This is where we do quality control. And I was able to meet the employees there and whatnot too. I had somebody who was creating the fan shrouds.
John, yep.
Dude, John was epic. Like, he's like, this is my life. This is what I do every day. He's like, check these welds out. Check with this. I got to have this just right. He's machining these things. And I'm like, dude, this is epic for me to see. And then when we were able to go across the street and kind of see where you all had the machine there that was getting cleaned out. And I think that's the one we took, right? That's the one we took and used. I just was fascinated with the technologies. When you see it, I don't think people really realize like the order of the operation of the machine to get the leaves and dirt particles that are on the ground into the trap, and then what happens to it once it's there. So will you kind of give us the process of what's going on? I know there's a lot of models and different types and whatnot, but can you give us kind of the process of like, we're firing this thing up, there's a pile of garbage, dirt, and leaves, we're driving over it. What is going to happen when we go over that with the machine going?
Sure. Well, one of the things that we promote about our company is we have the most diverse product offering. And the reason behind that is there are 3 different types of sweeping technologies. So you have mechanical sweepers, which is the M6, M4, M5 that we have here. And that's your mechanical sweeper. It's more of like a broom and dustpan. You're literally taking a big main broom and side brooms and putting the material onto an elevator or a conveyor and physically carrying it up into a hopper where it dumps into a hopper and you take it to wherever you're going to dispose of it. Then there's 2 different types of air products. So one, the most popular is regenerative air in the United States. And so basically that takes a fan that you saw John welding, and we use both sides of that fan. So we create a vacuum in our hopper, and that's what sucks up all the material from the ground. But then we take the exhaust of that fan and we push it back on top of the pickup head. We put it through a plenum that goes across the entire pickup head and out through a very narrow channel. And what that does is that speeds up the air and really digs into the nooks and crannies in your street. And we also set it at a windrow angle, so it's not only getting in there, getting all the fines up in the airstream, but it's also pushing it to the intake.
So like kind of like a wind blade,
yeah.
Then essentially,
yep.
right? Where you're making a wind blade to go across the pavement? Okay.
Exactly. And then the third technology is pure vac, similar to a regen where it uses a vacuum or a fan to draw a vacuum in the hopper. Difference is it exhausts up and out of the hopper for us, rather than putting the exhaust back down on the ground. But the big difference is how they're moving material. At the end of the day, they're all moving material. And every sweeper sweeps. I mean, every sweeper can sweep. The big difference there is each type of sweeper, whether it be mechanical, pure vacuum, regenerative air, they each have their areas where they excel and where they struggle a little bit more. So when we were sweeping with that regen, we were sweeping general debris, just your leaves and your normal, cul-de-sac debris. And so basically what happens there, again, your fan kicks on and you draw a vacuum in the hopper. And as we go down the street, we have a curb broom that pulls the material off the gutter into the path of the pickup head. If it's mechanical,
it's rotating to throw it underneath the machine.
Exactly. And that doesn't matter what type of sweeper it is. The whole idea is pull it from the gutter in front of the pickup of the machine. So on the truck that we were using, which was, again, the A7, it was a regenerative air. So it's putting it in front of that pickup head, and we run over it with the pickup head, and it allows the material to go up into the intake tube, get sucked into the hopper, and stored there for transporting and disposal. If it was a mechanical sweeper, it would get thrown onto a conveyor or an elevator.
Okay. So then it just gets extracted?
Yep,
off
exactly.
Of that conveyor and elevator?
Yep, so you dumps right into a hopper, and then you dump that into a dump truck, you dump that into a roll-off or on the ground.
So the one thing that I want to ask you about is what I was stuck on was the fans. Those things are heavy. Like when I seen them getting welded, I was like, all I could think about, and this is coming from the paving side and seal coating side, is you think about the load on a bearing. And that thing is heavy. And I would like to tell everybody like it spins where you can see the fan blades, but you can't. That thing is zooming. So what is that like on those bearing housings and whatnot with that blade being there? Is that something that we need to maintain regularly? Is there a design there that's keeping them through a longer life? I mean, that's a lot of RPMs, right? And that thing is going around, and I know the faster something goes, the hotter it gets most of the time. What does that look like as far as on the machines?
So you saw the big trucks, the A series. That's our more street sweeper, municipal. Those are the biggest fans. We do have smaller fans in the S series, the parking lot side. But yes, you're 100% right. We are spinning a big mass very fast, and it needs to be supported. So we kind of go about that a couple different ways. First, you got to design it in to last. You know, you're not using your bearings that would go for a hinge on a gate or something like that. They have to be rated for this. And we work with all of our vendors to make sure we have application approval. They know what we're doing, they know how our trucks are used, and then in turn, then we have the confidence to use that product and that application. But there is absolutely maintenance involved. One of the biggest things about a street sweeper is they get dirty, right? We're picking up material. We're using a lot of water for dust suppression, for keeping things clean, for lubricity reasons. So you can get a sweeper dirty. You got to make sure you're cleaning your machine. It helps with the airflow, but it also helps notify if any problems, and it keeps that fan balanced.
I got you.
So long term, the right materials, the right design are the key factor there, but also your maintenance. So they do require greasing at a periodic rate, and we have that on all of our sweepers right there at the grease bank for you.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that the founder was working with Boeing and whatnot, because that's all I could think about was like, dude, these things are spinning as fast as I can imagine a jet engine blade spinning, right? I'm like, dude, they are whipping it. So I was thinking, this is where it has to be, because it gets hot. It's kind of dealing with the same weight. We're kind of going at a really fast rate. And I was thinking, dude, this is the type of style bearing that must be in this thing. To move away from that, something you mentioned was that all the different types of vacuum technologies and whatnot, they all have their pros, they all have their cons and whatnot. And I think one thing that it kind of hit me, being as I always tell everybody, I just have like a asphalt shoveler, seal coater, Neanderthal brain, is I thought the bigger job you have, the bigger sweeper you need. The smaller job you have, the smaller sweeper you need. But really what it come down to was job specific. Like, what are you going to be using the sweeper for? If you're going to be using it for this application, then you should be choosing this style of sweeper. So can you kind of talk about that a little bit as far as, there's street sweepers like you'll see in your municipalities, right? And then there's ones where they're parking lot sweepers where they're not exactly the same. You guys have some that are designed to go on, regular sized pickup trucks to start for different things. So can you kind of get into that a little bit as far as what sweepers are we supposed to use for what?
Sure. No, absolutely. So don't feel bad, because that's a common misconception. Our A9 sweeper is the largest hopper we have. It's almost 10 cubic yards, whereas our M5 and M6, that's around 5 cubic yards. So you'd think, oh, if I'm doing a milling job, I want more capacity, so let's just go ahead and use the A series. Well, mechanicals are better at your milling jobs, just in general for pickup. They do a fantastic job at bulk loading, and they also have a hopper that lifts to dump. So you can lift that hopper about 12.5 feet. So if you just look at capacity, you go, okay, well, the A9 is a better choice here, but I got to dump on the ground with that A9. On the M6, I can drive a dump truck right next to it. I can offload the hopper into it and be right back on the job in 45 seconds or less.
Wow.
Whereas the A9, now I got to go all the way down to the dump. If it's not on site, clean it out, come back. So, as far as applications go, mechanicals are amazing at bulk loading. So your sands, your general DOT work, where you're taking big hubcaps and 2x4s, those type of applications, that's where the mechanicals really shine.
Did you say taking up hubcaps and 2x4s?
Oh yeah. So the mechanicals, basically, if it'll fit on the conveyor or in the elevator, it's going in that hopper.
Get
yeah.
out. Really?
You'll see some pretty weird things inside of hoppers.
No.
Drive down the highway, you got snakes from
Crack
asphalt.
filling.
Exactly. Everything to broken headlights and
roadkill.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You don't want to smell the inside of a sweeper after it's been
My
used.
gosh, I knew this was coming. I knew we would take a turn. I
Yeah.
was driving here today from Nikki's place, and I seen like it's rut season for the deer right now, so it's gun season right now. And dude, they're just out there committing,
Zombies.
oh dude, they're just out there. Yeah, they're zombies right now. Those deer are just committing libido suicide out there. Like they're just running anywhere looking for anything. And I was thinking the other day, I was like, while I was thinking about sweepers, I was like, dude, some of these are in town. Like I wonder like if it's, and obviously not a deer, but I was thinking like there's armadillos down here, there's possum, raccoon. I'm
Raccoons,
like, guarantee
squirrels.
these guys aren't getting out. They're just going to be like, well, I'll just deal with it and wash it out and dump it. And it was making me think like those bad boys get sucked up in there, huh?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
My
If
gosh.
basically with the A series, if it'll fit in the intake tube, it goes in the hopper.
How big can something fit in the intake tube, do you think?
So A789, you're talking 14-inch diameter. So
that's crazy, man.
yeah. And there's stories about like, roadkill, and if you accidentally leave your sweeper overnight without cleaning it in a hot area.
Gross. That's crazy.
It's not fun. Not fun.
When I was there with you, we were cleaning one out. Right? We were cleaning one out, and I was like, oh, this is how these bad boys get cleaned out. But it made me think about what you were just talking about with the dump, right? Going up over the edge. If it was the stationary one where you had to dump on the ground, if you were dumping on the ground on, like, let's say you're doing a highway, right? You're doing a milling paving of a highway or street, and you don't get to drive to the dump, you'd have to dump it, load it, and then sweep that area again.
Yep,
So you'd
pick it back up.
You'd have to pick it back up and do that again. So really, if you're doing a chain, right, if you're behind a mill, you want something that's the mechanical series then that can just lift up and dump. You can move with the mill, do it again, and it's going to pick up the debris. So there's really no need, like before or in alternative situations, you would use a sweeper on the front, but it's going to fling debris everywhere. You're still going to have dust particles and whatnot.
Right.
So with the mechanical series sweeper, if you're behind a mill machine and the tack truck would then be behind you, if you're going to put tack down, the area is clean enough that we can just sweep it, tack it,
Good to go.
lay the mix on. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
There's a lot of times too where people follow up with an air machine afterward. Air machines are better for your fines and your general particulates. So if you take an M series, mechanical series, right behind the mill, then you get all the big stuff and you get it done really quickly. You follow that up with an A7 or A9 and you're vacuuming that thing, perfectly clean.
Okay.
So that it is 100% ready to go. The M series will do a great job just by itself, but if you need that perfect spotless, and then you've already picked up the majority of materials, so you don't have to be worrying about loading that A series hopper too quick.
Yeah, you're just picking up fines and blowing stuff out of the way so that the tack is actually touching the milled asphalt.
Exactly.
So tell me about when it comes to parking lots, because these are the machines that on the seal coating side, I think could be extremely advantageous to a lot of us. And we just don't talk about it or haven't thought about it enough. Some of my friends, I'm proud of Wiscoat and our size and the projects that we do, but some of my friends are doing some massive projects. And all I can think is when I get there sometimes I'm like, dude, these guys are pushing blowers and steel brooms across this parking lot. And I've seen a steel bristle rotary head before. Are we starting to see that more where people are understanding like the amount of time that it's saving us to do these things and get them done on time is worth the investment in our sweepers? Because for me, it seems like a no-brainer. If you're going to have one, talk to the guys that own sweeping businesses, and you've had an added stream of income to your asphalt maintenance business or asphalt business in general.
Absolutely. So, whether you're contracting it out or you're doing it yourself, the networking and the connection between pavement maintenance and striping and resurfacing and keeping it clean are just invaluable, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same customer's base and you guys can talk, and there's a lot of different organizations out there like NAPSA and 1-800-SWEEPER that we participate in, but their whole goal is networking, education, and connecting people. So they're really good organizations. But in terms of the value, absolutely people are seeing that value. On the front end, even before you guys would get there, a clean parking lot is more attractive to customers. So on the front end, if you keep that parking lot clean, you have more business, you have more availability to repair a parking lot, more desire to repair a parking lot, and things like that. But then on the actual repair side, if it's clean beforehand, you guys could do your job faster and more effectively. And it's not creating more headaches down the road. You're not spraying over aggregate that's going to just move your line or destroy your line, right?
Yeah.
And in terms of the bristles that you talked about, older asphalt steel bristles are fine, right? As long as you're not sitting on it, it's not a problem. You put a top coat on and you can change those out to poly bristles. You're still going to move material. You'll wear the bristles a little faster, but you're still going to move the material, and you're going to pick.
Yeah. Well, earlier you were talking, well, I was talking about when you told me it could pick up a brick when we were, and I was like, what about weight? Like, I know you've talked about the 14-inch size, but what about weight? Like, have you put it through the paces and been like, can we do 15 pounds? Can we do 20 pounds? Can we do 10 pounds? Can we do 5 pounds? Like, what are we talking about? I know that's going to change with the vacuum sizes and whatnot, but like on a standard parking lot, because I'm thinking about like landscaping stones and stuff that's on the side and different things, because some of these companies have liability issues with stuff in their parking lot because like somebody gets out of their car, trips on one, and here we go. It's the same as a reverse pothole, right? The pothole's down and a debris is on top. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Absolutely. I don't think we've ever done, or at least I haven't been part of any specific testing to say, it'll pull XYZ pounds.
We're doing it. I'm coming to Huntsville.
Let's go.
We're doing it. All right.
Yeah.
Tell Joe we have a closed experiment we're going to have to be doing. YouTube video is going to be coming because I
got the perfect truck for it.
Cool.
Yeah. The parking lot side. So the parking lot side is really built on maneuverability and ease of use and maintenance. So it's a smaller fan. It's a smaller engine. It won't be able to pick up as heavy of objects as the big A series, but it's all built around getting around a parking lot effectively, as well as being more of an entry level, price point. And we build those on like Chevy 1500s and small Isuzu gas cab overs. The bricks and things like that, that's more your A series, but we're pushing 20,000+ CFM. And plenty of vacuum to pull up bricks. And joking aside with the bricks, we had a customer in here right after you left, and their whole story for buying our truck was that our sales guy said, "Oh, it'll pick up a brick," and their fleet manager said, "Yeah, okay, salesman, whatever." He goes, "No, I promise it'll pick up a brick." So they said, "We'll put a brick down. If you pick it up, we'll buy the truck." They just took delivery of their second truck.
Yeah, picked up 2 bricks.
Yep, exactly. So yeah,
cool.
It can move a lot of air.
Dude, it's just so cool. The technology is so cool, and what it does is so cool.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to this podcast. My name is Chris Giese. I am the producer of the Blacktop Banter podcast and Marvin's right-hand man when it comes to all things content and podcast related. If you're a business owner or a contractor and you're thinking about creating content, or maybe you already are, using content to grow your influence and your business online, but you're feeling frustrated or overwhelmed with the process, or maybe you're just lost in general and don't know how to get started, I'm here to help. For a limited time, I'm offering free 30-minute consultation calls where we can take a look at your business. You can tell me about your goals. We can look at what your pain points are and give you some actionable insights that you can start using in your business right away. So if that's something that sounds like it might be of interest to you and could be helpful in your business and your journey toward content creation, I'm here to help. You can sign up for free on my website at chrisgiese.com. That's CHRISGIESE.com. I look forward to talking with you.
In my opinion, Dynapac CC900G roller is the best roller on the market for driveway and small parking lot paving contractors. The seismic technology in these rollers is unbeatable for the smoothness and compaction they provide. Take my word for it, or visit Dynapac.com to find a dealer near you.
Hey Blacktop Banter fans, this is Michael with Aquafault. Aquafault is the only permanent repair material for asphalt and concrete that uses water. And installation is simple. Just pour, add water, and tamp. It's that easy. An Aquafault repair can be open to traffic immediately and fully sealed within 24 hours. Visit aquafault.com to learn more.
I work closely with KM International to design what I believe is the best seal coating unit on the market. The Blacktop Banter Edition seal coating unit, available in both 550 and 700 gallon versions. Learn more about the unit by visiting kminternational.com.
Quick startups, fume-free, automatic agitator shutoff, a splash-proof lid, and pumping on demand. These features are essential for any serious asphalt maintenance contractor. Elevate your game with the Crafco SuperShot line of melters by visiting crafco.com today.
Hi contractors, it's Kyla from Wiscoat. We use Stencil Plus for all of our pavement marking stencils. You can save 10% on your stencil order by using code BB10 during checkout at stencilplus.com or by calling 877-372-6055.
In the past year, Jobber has been our CRM of choice at Wiscoat, and it's made our world exponentially better efficiency-wise. For our small seal coating company, it has helped build the solid foundation we can scale from. Jobber is now a sponsor of Blacktop Banter and helps bring this show to you. With this partnership, Jobber is offering an exclusive savings to BB listeners of 20% off for 6 months. To take advantage of this, find the Jobber link in the show description and get to improving your process today.
I'm really an old school guy. Like, I like leather work, I like woodwork, I like wrenching on my stuff, which you wouldn't really think because we're doing this through technology and whatnot and everything now. But EV technology and stuff is like all over the place. And there's a lot going on with different products and stuff coming out. And I know expo season's coming up, conference season's coming up. I'm sure we'll see you all at Pavex and at World of Asphalt. I want to ask you about the EV M6 Avalanche, which is a very cool piece of equipment that you guys have. Can you touch on that a little bit and tell us about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to back up just a hair, one of the biggest things that drives our company is VOC, voice of customer. Between my boss and I, Jim, who's our other product manager, we have over 60 years in the sweeping industry.
Wow.
And I'm only at 11. That'll give you a hint.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing, and this comes from David, our president, all the way down, is we believe that we are experts in building sweepers. We do not define what the sweeper is. The market defines what it is. The end user, you guys who are actually running it 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours a day, we might think it's cool. That's an opinion. That doesn't mean anything if it's not supported by customer feedback. The reason I say that is when we went to develop the M6 EV, we didn't just want to electrify a component to electrify a component, just check a box, right?
Right.
So we launched our M6 EV at ConExpo, at the last ConExpo, and that's on an electrified, commercially available chassis. It was the M2 at the time. But then we didn't just put our normal M6 on the back of it. We went out and we electrified every component that we could. So that truck is every rotating component on it. So your side brooms, your main broom, and your elevator, those are all motors, electric motors now instead of hydraulics.
Wow.
And the reason behind that, we found that we had amazing efficiency pickups. I mean, just unreal.
Really?
It was incredible. We'll get into that next time you're down here. But the biggest important part there was our customers were saying, get rid of hydraulics. Hydraulics are not fun to work on. They can leak when they leak or you blow a hose. Now you're looking at environmental issues. Am I getting fined? All that stuff. When we set out for this project, we set out to electrify everything that we could. So very minimal hydraulics on that truck now. And we've had it in testing for well over 2 years. Alamo Group is our parent company, and they are investing in the future. I mean, just full force. So they actually created a division called the ATC Advanced Technology Center, and they're also here in Huntsville, which is awesome because it's, a 10-minute drive for us. But basically their whole goal is those are experts, super smart guys that sit there and they look at advanced technologies, whether that be autonomy, electrification, what's next coming up. And then rather than having us at Schwarze develop something and then a sister company like Nighthawk develop something and then the rest of the groups develop something, we get to work with them. So we get to leverage not only their expertise, but we also kind of work together, and it helps us advance these things a lot quicker. So looking at the EV, we're still in the later stage of testing. We really want to make sure that this thing is perfect when we launch it.
Yeah.
Because we know it's not for everybody, but for the people that need it, whether that be regulations, whether that be you get grant money, it needs to be a sweeper. It needs to not be a paperweight, a fancy thing in your driveway, right? You're not just checking a box. You need it. So that's where we really started off with that truck.
Yeah, there's some people that just personal preference of EV technology being badass, where they're just like, I want that.
But yeah,
right?
It's
like,
fun.
We were in Eli's at a soccer camp here in Nashville this week. It's Thanksgiving week. And we stopped by Target because he needed a pair of shorts. And on the back end of the parking lot, he looks over and there's like 100 Cybertrucks there, right? And he's like, oh my God, let's go over there. So we go over there and he's like, what is all this going on? What is this for? And we get into a conversation about, I'm of course playing the old school. And I'm like, dude, what are we going to do with this? Like, if we had a Cybertruck, what are we going to do with this? And Eli's like, I don't care.
It's just cool.
Yeah, he's like, I don't care what we do with it. He's like, imagine that having Wiscoat on the side of it or something on the side of it. He's like, it just be cool. I just want it. And I'm like, Okay. Like I get that, right? Because it was like I had PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3 come out and I was like, dang, okay, I got to get PlayStation 3. So I get it. I think and maybe you can agree or disagree with me on this. I think there was a lot of buzzword with EV when it came out, and people really just jumped on and started putting stuff out. And then when you would ask like the actual practical questions, they'd be like, "Well, yeah, I mean, it's not going to replace what's going on here." And I'm like, "Well, then why are we even doing this then?" But I noticed with what you're talking about, taking your time, we want to make sure that this thing is here, that this thing is going to be productive and do what it needs to do, because not only is it going to cost the customer, but it's costing the manufacturers to put the time, effort, and energy and material into lithium ion and everything else that's going to be going into this. So it's very cool. I'm hoping I get to see it. Maybe I'll get to run it. If I can run the gas one, I'm sure I can run the EV one. By that time, maybe it'll be something to run it for me. I'll just have to tell it what to do.
Just pull up an app. Well, you were talking about the expo season coming up here, and at Pavex, we're going to have a new A series hopper design that we're putting through its paces right now. But we're also going to have our hybrid EV. So. Wow. And that kind of goes back to what you're talking about. Is it cool for cool's sake, or is it actually doing something? And it's hard to deny the benefits of electrification on the component level, right? The side brooms that we have on these trucks, they're just torque monsters. They're amazing.
Wild.
And it's so quiet and it's so efficient. But for a customer who doesn't want to invest in the infrastructure for electrification, or was worried about range anxiety and things like that, we've taken all of the lessons learned on our electric vehicle path right now, and we took the actual body off of our EV and we put it on a diesel powered chassis, and now it's run off a generator. So you still get all the torque, you still get all the benefits of electrification, but you're driving down the road and you can fill up diesel when you're ready, and that'll be at Pavex.
Whoa.
So you'll have to stop by and see it.
Cool. Yeah, we're definitely stopping by there. The question I have about that is, like, you're talking about the components and stuff and how, they're a lot better. Was there a whiplash effect where lithium ion and the power and everything that was available got here, but yet we didn't have motors that could sustain that? And then all of a sudden, once that technology is there, those companies that create those small motors create something that can sustain the weight and the movement, the torque, the buzz up and buzz down real fast. Because when I was a kid, I had a erector set. Did you ever have one of those?
Yeah.
And I knew the more batteries I stuck together, the faster that blade spin. Like at the beginning, it would just hit my finger. At the end, it would chop that bad boy off.
Right.
And it was like, dude.
And it get warm.
Dude, it got really warm. So that's kind of what I was thinking as the third parties, I guess, is that the right thing to put, or sister companies or whatever that are creating these components for us to manufacture these things. Have they caught up to where we're like, okay, we can put out some quality stuff here now and not have to worry about it so much? Because I'm a big fan of, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Sure.
And there's a reason why Schwarze has been around for as long as they have, right? And they keep growing and keep building. The bread and butter stays true. This is what's worked. It always works. It's bulletproof at this point with this technology and this placed here. We jump into a new realm, and it's like, okay, we're going to have to play catch up here all over again. Have those companies that are in that new realm or throwing pieces into that new realm saying, hey, we can do it. Can they really do it now? Or are we still waiting for a little bit of that?
Well, I think it's really a case-by-case basis. So when you're talking the really big stuff, the electrified chassis, you are seeing some of that and component swaps there. The stuff that we're using, for instance, I don't know if it was the end-all product that we ended up going with, but we used drive motors out of electrified excavators and things like that.
Okay.
For our equipment that's been around for 10 plus years. And the battery technology it's slower, but it's getting better. 5-10 years ago, you weren't able to find many or any options really in the lithium ion space that we wanted to be at. And now there's quite a few companies that are coming out. Charging technology is getting better, but I'm a gearhead like you. I want to turn a wrench. I want to hear, I accidentally forgot to put the muffler back on. Now it's straight piped. I'll drive that around for a little while.
Yeah, I forgot the gasket there. It's seeping out a little bit.
Darn, cutout was left open, but it's still pretty exciting, what it can do.
Well, I mean, of course there's that. I prefer my early 90s Chevys or late 80s Chevys, right? Versus what
Square bodies, yeah.
Dude, if mine goes out now, I got to take it somewhere most of the time. No, most of the time. But there is something to be said with how cool the new technology is, though. Like, you can't deny that.
Oh, right.
That is cool and that we're there. What's it like for you? I'm going to ask you like a personal question. I know you and I geek out about a lot of the same types of stuff and whatnot. What's it like for you to be with the Alamo Group and these guys that are in sister companies, and you to have like this brain force of these guys that are like, hey, what about this? What about this? What if we do that? What if we work on this and we look for future forward technologies? What's that experience like for you?
It's been amazing so far. So Alamo Group is not a do as we say and you're all going to do the same thing and you're all going to come out with a manila product that looks the same, just painted different colors for different companies.
Yeah.
So they give us a lot of latitude. Now they want us to get that VOC to make sure we're not just coming up with cool for cool's sake. It needs to be something that actually meets the market's needs and is valuable. But working with the ATC, I mean, these guys are mad scientists. It is so cool. They got a 3D printer over there that I just love watching, create parts, and they're allowed to go beyond what normal like prototyping and R&D would be, because they're really pushing the cutting edge. So, they'll have test stands with 10 different motors on it, and they're going to run them way past their manufacturer's recommendations to see what happens. So that by the time we work together and we develop a product, we know that, hey, 3 of these motors are ideal. The other 7, just don't even consider them. And of these 3, here's what happens. Here's the differences. Here's the pros and cons. And so we can design it in our system, knowing full well that it's been tested, vetted, and it works for what we're doing. But it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
It's got to be fun. It reminds me of like when we go to conferences and stuff, and we're able to do like the round tables and whatnot, and you're able to see like the guys that are at the forefront of business, right, in our industry, and they're able to like brain box together, and we're able to watch and just be like, oh, and then all of a sudden in the crowd you'll hear somebody with another idea, spit another idea, and it's just really cool to see it come together. It gives me a lot of confidence in y'all, and just be like, okay, we're in good hands. This is going to keep going and keep moving. So all that being said, you have a lot of years, as we mentioned, in the sweeper world, far more than I have, and more than what a lot of our listeners and a lot of people out there have. But what is like one of the biggest pieces of advice that you would give, or something you've learned from being involved in our industry at large for that amount of time in this unique position that you're in?
So, this really comes a lot from the smaller trade shows, the 1-800-Sweeper and things like that, but know your business. So know where you are, know your numbers, know what industries that you're currently playing in, how you're doing, and then where you want to go. From a sweeper aspect, a sweeper can be something to keep you from having to wait on other people. It can be an extra service that you can offer. It can be your sole business. It could be everything in between. You go after parking lots, you could contract for cities, you could do whatever you want, but you got to know what you are wanting to do, and that will help shape the product that's best for you. Because the other thing is, again, I can hit on this all day. Every sweeper sweeps, but there's a big difference in not only cost, but operation and maintenance and everything between the different types of sweepers, between the different sizes of sweepers. So it's not just saying, oh, I'm going to add a sweeper and all of a sudden increase my revenue stream. You might. But if you buy the wrong sweeper for the wrong application, you're going to have an uphill battle. You might wear out components faster. You might not be as effective at doing it. So really understand your business, and then work with someone who understands sweeping. Because again, you can go out. If I bought a Ranger tomorrow, I love the Ford Ranger. It's a cool little truck. Same with the Chevy Colorado. But if my daily activity is pulling a Mini X, it's not going to last very long, right? But on the flip side, if I live in an apartment building and I got to park in a parking garage, an F550 is probably not the best choice for me.
Correct.
So really hone in on what you're doing today, what you want to do, and then we can figure out how to get there. Because with our product offering, we specifically have different sizes and technology so we can grow with you. So I mean, our Arrow, I don't know if you saw one when it was here, but you can slide that in the back of a 1500 or tow it. Yeah, it's a great little entry sweeper, but it's not going to do 25 curb miles a day in downtown Chicago or Green Bay or Milwaukee. But the A9, great truck. You can add tons of water to it. It's not going to do great on sweeping Walmarts every night.
Right.
So you just got to figure out what you want to do and get in the right equipment to make sure that you're maximizing your dollar and you can actually charge and create the service that meets your brand. These trucks are rolling billboards. You wrap, we see tons of customers wrapping them from municipal
all the time.
But the quality of work you do is reflective on your company. So you don't want to get the wrong sweeper and then all of a sudden start making accounts pissed off because you didn't live up to their expectations.
Yeah. You overpromised and underdelivered essentially
Exactly.
at that point. I thought I was done with questions, but
Keep going.
you staying on that had me think about a couple more of them. When it comes to older models, right? Like I see, especially where we live, people love to sweep right borderline when snow's coming and salt's there. So you see some rust and some different things on some of them up in Wisconsin. Not so much here in Tennessee, now that I've spent some time here. When it comes to older models, let's say I need a component for something that's 20 years old. Am I going to get that still? Am I going to be able to get that component and be able to fix that machine?
I mean, it's place to place, but yeah, we do support our older models. I don't know if you met Brenda and our parts team while you were down here.
I did.
She's that team is
phenomenal,
amazing at doing that. We just built hoppers a couple of weeks ago for trucks that were, I mean, they predated me. They're probably 15 years old. They were at least a full generation behind. And like for us, I can't speak for others, but across the street, we have our refleet shop. And so those guys over there, they will do everything from if your sweeper got in an accident and you need a couple new components to you got 300,000 miles on the chassis, it's ready to retire, but the sweeper's in good condition. We'll take the sweeper off, put it on a brand new chassis and vice versa. So keeping those older sweepers running is a priority for us because we do our best to be contractor minded, contractor focused. That's not to say anything about not supporting municipalities. We do, but we know that in a contractor world, if you don't sweep, you're not getting paid. I mean, literally, our equipment can be putting food on the table for people, putting kids through school. So we don't want to make it hard for anyone to keep the machine up and running. We're proud of our equipment, and we want you to be able to be proud of your company using our equipment.
When I was there, when we were in the conference room, I think I got there was a presentation that went, and I seen all the places Schwarze sweepers have been sent. How do you offer support if it's so far away? Is there a dealer network, distribution network? If you ship one to Melbourne, like what then? What if the guy's like, yeah, this thing ain't running?
Sure, that's a great question. So in the U.S., well, the whole North America, we have a massive dealer network that we sell through. We also sell direct, but for the direct customers, you can get your stuff serviced at our dealer network.
Perfect.
For overseas, we kind of offer it in two different ways. So we do sell through dealers, like Australia, for a perfect example. We work with Core. Keep equipment running is their motto, and that's their name. But we sell directly through them. So just like if it was being sold in Alabama or Wisconsin, that's a dealer model. We do sell some, what I would consider more direct for places, but before they get a sweeper, before we ship anything, before they buy anything, we make sure that they're comfortable with our equipment. We also have a guy here, Costas, who does our warranty, but he also does all of our training. I mean, he's literally flown to probably 20 different countries.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Cool. What a cool gig.
It's awesome.
Dude,
and he'll help people mount them. He'll train them. I mean, he does all of our training here at our training center. So it doesn't matter where in the world it is. We'll make sure that the sweeper's up and running and that you have support.
Dude, cool. Very cool. Where can we find y'all's website? Is it schwarzesweepers.com?
Just Schwarze.com. Yep.
Schwarze.com will get you there. And then I find Schwarze on Instagram, LinkedIn, everywhere. I can find you on LinkedIn. I know I try to keep up with Joe once in a while on LinkedIn too. He's a little more squirrely than you and I think, to keep tabs on, but you know, it is
a little.
It is what rightfully so, right? Dude, I really, really, really appreciate you coming on here and explaining this to us. I've heard you do this now probably 3 times, once at the show, once in person, and once now, and I can't ever get enough. I think it's just cool, and I think if people were able to see them in action and understand what's going on, they would probably think it's just as cool. Hopefully they look into Schwarze, they look where they got a dealer or a distributor and can go there and look and ask some questions and check some stuff out. And I, of course, encourage everybody to come to the shows and the conferences over these winter months, right? Pavex, you guys are going to have a great display. And I know we were at World of Asphalt last year and we're able to have some good conversations and whatnot there as well. So I really, really appreciate all you all do for our industry, supporting Blacktop Banter. And dude, I got to get down there and see you again soon.
Anytime you want. It's an honor. I really appreciate you having me on here and look forward to working with you in the future.
Dude, me too. I think we're going to go. We got Nashville SC tickets, season tickets up here.
Nice.
I know Huntsville's soccer team is like their smaller minor league version. We'll have to come down and catch a game. Y'all can come up here and catch a game with us.
Let's do it.
All right, man. I really, really appreciate it. Hey, everybody. Today we had Nicholas Bruhn on from Schwarze Industries, Schwarze Sweepers. He's a product manager. Very insightful conversation. Can't ever get enough. I'm super excited for the future in technology in our industry, and it seems like Schwarze is right there on the forefront of that. As always, this is Blacktop Banter, and whether it's sweeping, line striping, paving, seal coating, we speak asphalt. Peace. Thanks, Nick.
Have a good one.
Hey everybody, Marvin here from Blacktop Banter, and if you enjoy the podcast and what we've been bringing to the industry, you can support us through a one-time or recurring donation at blacktopbanter.com. There we have a support tab. You click that and choose your path from there. If you listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please do us a favor and leave a review there for us as well. As always, we speak asphalt, and thanks for your support.